Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, and finally we have a proper comic book review show. Last week, very busy birthday week, running all over the place, so didn't really have time to do a proper one. So I did a kind of all-in-one mashup of all the kind of videos I do. But this is a proper comic book review show, this is what you're here for, and let's kick off with a couple of independent titles, and let's be happy. It's issue 1 of Grant Morrison's new 4-issue mini-series on Image, and oh my goodness, a page does not go by without someone swearing, throwing out a slew of expletives. When I was in the comic book shop and I was just kind of flipping through this to see if I was going to be interested in buying it, I did have to check on the cover and see, are we sure this is written by Grant Morrison? It feels a lot more like a Mark Millar book, kind of along the lines of Kick-Ass or Hit Girl. I mean, it is just, there is not a page without someone using an F or a C word. This is a very mature title read, be warned. It centres on this guy called Nick Sachs, who's a corrupt ex-cop turned hitman, and the latest hit goes wrong, and now the whole this kind of mafia hit squad all want him dead now. And the only thing that is gonna look like give him a chance to save him is a little blue horse called Happy. Yes, it's got that little kind of Grant Morrison weird twist at the end, but it is, in all essence of the word, it's just like a mafia story. It really wasn't my thing. I'm not a prude by any stretch of the imagination, but the swearing, the kind of sexual perversions, for want of a better phrase, within this book, it just doesn't let up, it doesn't stop, and it's just too overwhelming. I won't be buying the next issue. If you're a big fan of Mark Millar's kind of mature title work, if you're a fan of Hit Girl, if you're a fan of Kick-Ass, you'll probably love this title. I didn't. I did, however, really enjoy issue 5 of Mind the Gap. I know I said with the last issue that although I do like this title and this kind of the mystery whodunit genre that this is kind of imitating is good, I didn't feel I knew where this title was going to go after that. It seems to have a very finite time span here. What is going to happen when we, one, find out who attacked and almost killed Ellie, and who is behind it all? Where does it go from there? But this issue I really enjoyed, and it's strange because although yes it does all interweave with our main story, this is basically a flashback story. It's a history of one of our characters, Dane Miller. Dane Miller is the boyfriend of Ellie, who's in the coma, and it was just really, really clever the way McCann interwove Dane's backstory, his history, where he's come from, right from when he was a child to where he's landed now, being supposedly framed for Ellie's attack. The artwork in here is very, very nice. Esquijo. You get the what we're used to artwork for like the first 3 or 4 pages, and then he changes. I think he uses a different colorist, but it changes dramatically, and it has that kind of Vertigo-esque kind of feel to it, and it was just really nice. There's some kind of weird, over-exaggerated dream moments in there, but a smashing read nonetheless. If you've not started picking up Mind the Gap yet, and you like that kind of mystery flavour, whodunit to your comics, I believe the trade is just about to come out, and as Image are doing at the moment, it's a nice low price for you Americans of $9.99. Go pick this up. Let's go through a few Marvels now. We've got Amazing Spider-Man, issue 694, or how I like to call it, How Alpha Lost His Powers. Well, not exactly lost, but that's what we're heading to here as this Alpha 3 story arc tale comes to an end. On the cover you see there's a kind of homage to the Spider-Man Superman crossover title that happened many years ago, with Alpha taking the place of Superman. Yes, Alpha is just not that likeable a character, and I think Dan Slott was setting him up not to be liked, and hence knocked down from a great height. We have, I mean, this kind of fight scene, what appears to be a confrontation between Spidey and Alpha, doesn't happen in here. What we have instead is a baddie that comes out of nowhere. There is no kind of setup for this guy. It's just Terminus, slap bang in the middle of the city, and we've got the Avengers trying to stop him. There's Spider-Man, who thinks he's off to say goodbye to Aunt May as he flies back to Boston, gets embroiled in it all, and they realise that they're not going to beat Terminus. Let's call in Alpha. Alpha does the deed. He knocks back Terminus and defeats him, and this is where the losing of powers comes into play. Peter Parker works something out within this storyline and sets things almost right. It was an okay issue as usual, only really making its mark by the great artwork by Ramos. It does put a few things back to the status quo, not least of all Aunt May coming back to live in New York and not flitting off to Boston every 5 minutes. So it was okay, it was nothing spectacular. I'm wondering whether, given all the rumours about issue 700 that's floating around at the moment are true, am I ever going to pick up another issue of Spider-Man after issue 700? We'll see. What was it about Marvel this week and just making me laugh so much? As the title says, it's not all doom and gloom, my friends. 3 titles this week from Marvel that had me laughing out loud. And let's begin with the almost ended Incredible Hulk from Jason Aaron. This book has actually, for me, given that I've never really collected Hulk continually as an ongoing before, I've really enjoyed this. And I do think just now, unfortunately, with it being ended with the next issue, it's actually found its pace. It's found its niche, and it actually wants to be quite a funny comic. And the humour that we have coming out of here is well, we've got a couple of kind of team ups going on here. The Hulk and the Mad Squad kind of reticently come together to fight against who they think at the moment is Doom. And we have the Doom bots. This isn't the real Doom as yet. We may get him in the next issue, I don't know. But the Doom bots have actually enlisted the Brain Damage Inc. to put down the Hulk and in turn Bruce Banner. Now the Brain Damage Inc., this incorporated company business, have operatives that can mess with your head, do things to your brain to make you do things you don't want to do or do things you'd like to do, and obviously it costs a certain fee. So the Doom bots, we assume the orders of the original Doom, Prime Doom, has enlisted and paid for the services of Brain Damage Inc. to take down the Hulk. And we've got this scene with Amanda Von Doom and the Hulk, and they're watching a Doombot be tortured. And it just has the funniest line from one of the Doombots that is like thousands of miles away in their secret base. I don't want to spoil it because when I couldn't stop laughing. It's very low humour, but it did make me laugh, and this is what this title has found. It's funny bone. So we end this with kind of, obviously Hulk and Banner are one and the same again, and they are being attacked on all sides, basically inside and out. We have the Brain Damage Inc.'s operative called The Vegetable, who's fighting Bruce Banner, who's in the mind of the Hulk, Bruce Banner. Very complicated. And the Doombots have let loose our beasts, the kind of Hulkified versions that Bruce Banner was playing with, and they've set them on the Hulk. So it's going to obviously be a huge smackdown, and things are going to get smashed in the final issue. It's a shame we've seen the end of this, and I almost want to save it, if not for the fact that Mark Waid is going to be writing The Indestructible Hulk by the end of the month, by the end of the year, sorry. Another very amusing, funny and entertaining comic. It's Space Punisher, issue 3 of 4. I think I've described it as this before, but it is. It feels very much like that when you were a kid and your mum and dad dropped you off at your local cinema on the Saturday morning, and you were just kind of like surrounded with other kids. It was all fun, it was all exciting, and you watched these ridiculously over-the-top kind of sci-fi or adventure movies, and you just had fun. You kind of had that innocence of youth where you just kind of disconnected that disbelief nodule in your head, and you just went with it. And that's really what you've got to do with Space Punisher. It's one of those titles. The Six-Fingered Hand, -1 now, Doc Ock, has holed themselves up in the Red Skull's kind of castle, and Red Skull has thrown every single Hitler clone that he has to put down the Punisher, but it's never going to be that easy. There are some great, again, laugh out loud moments here. The Punisher goes to Avengers Planet. Yes, we have an Avengers Planet in this kind of Elseworld tale. And on Avengers Planet we have this museum, and it houses kind of all the big kind of powerful artifacts that we know from the regular Marvel continuity. So look carefully at the panels and you'll see like the Cosmic Cube, you'll see Galactus's huge helmet, you'll see an array of Iron Man suits, but the Punisher is going in there for a particular object and weapon, and this is so he can take out the big bad that's been behind and been pulling all the strings of the Six-Fingered Hand, and that is the Watchers. This series, sorry, this issue certainly ended on a very big moment that could just, well, is there going to be a next issue? How can there be a next issue? But we'll see. Great title, it's fun. If you've not picked this up, I hope they bring this out in trade or just find the issues. Wolverine and the X-Men. This could have possibly been my pick of the week if it wasn't for a certain other title, because Wolverine and the X-Men. And you may think, what? You were going to make this pick of the week? Well, yes. This is a very different to what we've been getting in Wolverine and the X-Men, but it's no less entertaining. It's Dupe. Dupe our guy here dressed as, oops, no, there, sorry, Dupe dressed as Wolverine there. And the story begins with Deathlock and Wolverine, and Deathlock's kind of assessing the teachers and telling Wolverine how good and bad they're doing. And then the name Dupe comes up, and Deathlock doesn't understand what Dupe actually does. And so we get this Dupe-centric tale about how Wolverine enlisted Dupe to work at the school, and what he actually does for the school. And it is just hilarious. There are so many moments in here that you are just like, fantastic. I mean, Jason Aaron, who knew he had this kind of humour in him? I mean, you have Dupe getting Wolverine to dress up as Cyclops and stab himself in the eyes with his adamantium claws. You have Dupe taking Wolverine to an Andy Warhol film marathon, and the next film he's about to watch is a 5-hour epic of a man falling asleep. It is just so inventive, so creative, and it's packed with stuff. There are so many cameos in here as well. From Howard the Duck, you've got Man-Thing, Deadpool's in it, Sabretooth tries to kind of woo Dupe away from the school, turn into like the dark side. And we find out what Dupe actually does for the school and what his purpose is. And it's just a riot of a laugh from start to finish. Change of artist. This title would not have worked if not for the artwork of Michael Allred. If Bocello and Townsend had tried this, it would never have been as funny. For those of you not familiar with Allred's work, it's a very indie, very rough, different kind of colour palette than you're used to. If you're thinking of picking up the new Marvel Now FF series and you're not sure about the artwork, whether you're going to like it or not, pick up this title. If you don't like this, you're not going to like FF. Great. Unfortunately, the doom and gloom this week came from DC. What a surprise. Not necessarily that these were tragic titles, it's just that the atmosphere we've got. We start with Batman The Dark Knight issue 0. And I think they messed up with the timeline. I thought they were kind of bringing it all out in order of, you know, him becoming Batman, trained to be Batman, having Robin come into his life, etc, etc. This deals very heavily with Bruce's kind of childhood and college years, and his obsession on finding the killer of his parents, and what ends up as the futility of it all, the pointlessness of it all, and we have Joe Chill. It was an interesting read. As I said, you see Bruce as a young child, and the kind of seedling of his obsession, which then we move to his college years and his complete obsession. And then we get to the end where, you know, Bruce is sure that, you know, there's someone bigger behind all this. There's some evil kind of corporation, or, you know, some overall bad man that has told Joe Chill to kill his parents. There has to be a reason for this. But as we find out in this title, there was no big bad. People were just in the wrong place at the wrong time and did the wrong thing. Justice League issue Dark, and we centre on John Constantine and Zatanna. They had a little bit of romance back in the day. This is John Constantine just coming into the whole kind of magic user kind of community. He's still not green in the slightest. He is still the bad boy that we kind of know and love, if looking a lot younger. And this kind of fills in a lot of gaps for the story that we've just been reading. We get the reason he's got that tattoo. We get introduced to what could potentially be part of our big bad, which is this group called the Cold Flame. And I think pretty much we now know who is the big bad of our current storyline from reading this. Great issue. Love Jail Dark anyway. The artwork on here by Lee Garber, very nice. Clean, crisp, makes all the characters look younger, so we do get this sense of this has happened in the past. Great title. For the first time, after James Donnelly badgered me to pick up this title. I did last month but didn't get a chance to review it. I've read all the past 12 issues of this and caught right up, and now I've picked up iVampire issue 0, and what we have is a kind of proper origin story, which is what these titles were really kind of advertised to be. Yes, we have the origin of Andrew Bennett becoming a vampire, and this is basically your kind of love's lost kind of story. It is a love story of him and Mary, who we know as Mary, Queen of Blood. And we find out that Andrew Bennett was once a very well-to-do lord, and he fell in love with Mary, who is much below his class, and obviously his family are not happy about that, but he runs off to be with her. My problem with this is it's not incredibly original. From our first scenes of the kind of horse-drawn carriage carrying Andrew while he's writing a letter to his sister in the pouring torrential rain through a dark and mysterious forest. It's very kind of Dracula, Bram Stoker-esque, but for all that kind of not so original origin story, it was a really great read. Who is it? Oh, of course, Andrea Sorrentino's artwork is fantastic. Couldn't imagine anyone else drawing this and doing the art for this title. It worries me because it can't be on it forever, surely. But it was still a great issue. I'm glad I picked up iVampire. The last 12 issues have been phenomenal. I practically read them all in one sitting. Pick up iVampire if you're not already. Let's not make it be one of those cancelled titles, especially now I've started picking it up. And finally, pick of the week. And like I said, Wolverine The XMen could well have been pick of the week, but I think this deserved it more, not just necessarily for this issue, but for its whole run, which unfortunately has ended with this title. It is, of course, Punisher, and it's issue 16. And we wrap everything up for this volume of The Punisher. Greg Rucka and Marco Cicciatos has just done a phenomenal job on this story, and really has brought kind of Frank Castle, The Punisher, back to basics, and really distilled the kind of ideology behind The Punisher and what he stands for. So many people have tried, so many people have done an okay job, but Greg Rucka really has hit the nail on the head with this whole series. We have Frank and Rachel preparing to go on the run after the massacre at the Exchange, and it basically takes Clemens to put all the clues together and realise that, you know, that Punisher wasn't involved in this. He wasn't the cause of the massacre, though obviously all the police, kind of that hierarchy of the police, want this to be Punisher's fault. Rachel is fighting with her conscience because, yes, she killed Bolt, the cop, in the last issue, and it's certainly taking its toll on her. And it's like the ending of your favourite kind of thriller movie. It's the chase at the very end, the cops all coming together on the bad guy, for want of a better word, and it just has this great cinematic quality to it, right at the very end, as they run to both kind of capture and save Rachel. Frank, the Punisher, I mean, he came to realise with taking on Rachel is that, you know, no one should ever have to do the things he does. He doesn't want this life for anybody else, least of all this poor woman who had her husband, her just then husband, and kind of family and friends just massacred on that one day that was meant to be most special to her wedding day. Just a great, well written, well drawn comic that I'm going to be going back to this series many times. And there we go. Just about did it in under half an hour. There you go, Matt. There you go, James. There you go, Travis. You've got your video. And that almost wraps it up. There, it is the end of the month, so I have my digital code raffle to give out. So, if you want to get digital codes for 2 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, 2 issues of Wolverine and the X-Men, Uncanny X-Force, Ultimate X-Men, 2 Incredible Hulk, and 1 Space Punisher digital code. Basically, all the Marvel titles that I bought this month, I will give you the digital codes. All you need to do is be a subscriber of this channel, and in the comment box below, put digital for the win. And that's me out. So, if it's your first time here, as always, give it a good subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, give it a big thumbs up, and put a comment down in the box below. Tell me what you've been reading this week. Did you laugh out loud as much as I did with those Marvel titles? I had a really great week with comics this week. There was a lot to read, and it was enjoyable for a change. It wasn't all heavy, man, apart from DC, obviously. That's me out. Bye, have a good weekend.